My name's Angela McCallister, and I have 2 books on downloadchildrensbooks.com, The Enchanted Flute and The Clever Cowboy.
Why do you like writing?
Gosh, well, that's a difficult question to answer because I can't imagine not doing it. It allows me to live lots of different lives. That's the most exciting thing, I suppose. It allows me to be lots of different people, anybody that I like. It allows me to have adventures I could never possibly have. It allows me to have voices, to have friendships in stories, in books. It's a tremendous other life, just as much as it is when you're a reader. And everybody, I think, knows that feeling when you're in the middle of a book. You feel as if you're taking part in another life, and it's sometimes very sad when that book comes to an end. It's the same for a writer. I don't think I ever became an author. It was something that I always did. I always wrote stories. I can't remember not writing stories, and I used to write on anything I could find. I didn't have computers and typewriters and all those things. I used to unstick the envelopes. Whenever my mother got a letter, I would unstick the envelope and use that was precious paper for me to write on. I would write on anything at all. So I've always drawn pictures, made things, written stories. It was just part of being who I am. Yeah. The Enchanted Flute, I guess, came from the idea. I've always loved music. When I was younger, we grew up with Radio 3. We listened to music all the time, and I used to make up stories to my father's records, symphonies and ballet music. I didn't know what the stories were, so I used to make up my own. And the Enchanted Flute came from the idea. I got to thinking, what would happen if instead of giving you feelings about things that you loved, music gave you feelings about things that you were afraid of, had a bad effect on you. And so I couldn't write about a whole symphony, a whole orchestra. So I decided to write about one instrument, and I wrote about the flute. And so the core of this story really comes from that first idea. And the flute had to belong to somebody. You can't have a flute dancing through a book without a musician. So I gave it to Princess Olivia, who is very good. Now, in a picture book, somebody who's very good, well, they probably have no problems and nothing to learn. So I needed another character who could take a journey through that story. And so I introduced her mother, who is not so good. And so I had a lovely cast of characters and an interesting scenario, and the book came from that. Well, The Clever Cowboy, again, I grew up, when I was younger, we watched endless cowboy programmes and films on the television. That's what was on the television. So I grew up with High Chaparral and Bonanza and Champion the Wonder Horse and all those wonderful programmes. So the world of the Wild West was very present in our childhood, and again was always a marvellous scenario, wonderful place where exciting things happened, and I wanted to have some fun there. And I think probably that book, quite often stories come from 2 different ideas, quite different ideas that suddenly connect together with a spark. And certainly The Clever Cowboy came from pancake cooking, and I wondered what would happen if you tossed a pancake up so high that it got stuck on the sun and put the light out. So it was a pancake story originally, and then I thought, what fun to set it in the Wild West. And so you have those 2 different ideas together. A book should take you somewhere new and fill your mind with pictures and colours and voices and adventures. So I hope that they're lively books that you will inhabit and go to those places while you're enjoying them. If you take something away from them as well, that's great too. They don't have an overt moral or a message as such. I hope there's always a sense of good and right in the stories that I write, but that's not why I write them. So first of all, to have some fun. And when I was younger, I would then want to pick up a piece of paper and copy the pictures. I used to do lots of drawing like that, so do that too, because they're both full of fantastic illustrations. And also do look at all the incidental characters and the little witty bits of business going on in both of those stories. There are all sorts of details. They're very rich, visually rich books. Who can resist a wonderful picture book? I hope you enjoy it.